Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22. 10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, Dancy, all around. Throw it as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver, you're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
What's up, everybody? We're back for another episode of our, I guess you could call it, quarterly roundtable. We're going to be doing one of these about every 3 months to discuss the latest news in basically kind of whatever we come up with. We've got subjects that touch on the NFL, the UFL, arena football, fantasy football, and even a little bit of NBA mixed in tonight. So for those of you joining us, we really appreciate it. Make sure you share this out, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Before we get into that, let's go around the table real quick and do a quick introduction into why you're here, who you are, all that fun stuff. We'll go to the man here on my left, Ghostface.
I did that before we came onto the air there. I was like, I'm just going to leave it like on that. I'm Michael Washington, obviously. Been here with Shady Sports now for, what is it, 2 years now, Sam? It's crazy, isn't it? 2 years.
It's been a while.
It's been a little while, yeah. I mean, I do all the summer showcases and spring showcases and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm just here for a little bit tonight and figured, well, why the hell not? Let's do it up.
Awesome. And if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely recommend going over and checking out his Nordic Storm preview with Randy Schroeder, which just finished up. What, a couple minutes ago, really? 15, 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, probably about 10, 15 minutes ago, so yeah.
Very nice. And then we'll go down to the left here. Cedric Green, host of Fantasy Reports, along with Justin down there at the bottom. Cedric, how's it doing tonight? Or how you doing tonight?
Oh, there we go. What's up? What up? Going good. I was like, oh, yeah, I was muted. Hey, it's my first rodeo. I'm happy to be here. Yep, like he said, host or co-host of Fantasy Reports, and also going to be co-host of the Bus Stop too. So keeping it in the bandwagon fashion. So I don't know if Rico will show up and jump on with me, but that'll be coming soon. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to be here with you guys too, talking some football and hearing about arena and UFL from you guys as well too. Let's get it going. Definitely. Well, looking forward to that new show. Speaking of which. So anybody who did not catch that, there will be a new show coming. It's called The Bus Stop. It's going to cover a little bit of music, a lot of sports. So looking forward to that. Jordan Martinez will be the co-host. Really good friend of mine. Actually, the friend of mine that happened to give me my nickname that I use as my display name all the time here. So kind of interesting how everything comes full circle. So we got one more guy tuning in. What's up, Daniel? How's it going?
What up, boys?
What up?
Yeah. So while we're going around the table for the introductions, we'll go down to CJ next.
What's up, everybody? CJ. Just kind of been in and out for the last couple months. Try to add a player perspective to whatever we're talking about.
Well, now we got 2 players on tonight. You're not the only one. So that's different for sure. Daniel's also a fellow offensive lineman as well. I don't know if you guys have met yet to this point. Justin, I apologize. I switched the spots, so we'll go to you next.
Oh, perfect. That's totally fine. Like I said earlier, I'm a co-host on Fantasy Reports with him. I'm kind of just on that bus doing the fantasy football news, and I've been doing it with him since probably May, I think, of last year. So I'm probably the freshest, in here as being on the network?
I think you are, at least out of this group. And honestly, it feels
Thankfully,
like
no hazing up to this point, but
what's that? It definitely feels like you've been around for a while, and you've contributed a lot already. So we're very lucky to have you. And once again, thank you for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. All right, now we're gonna go to the right here. We got TJ Bartholomew. How you doing tonight, TJ?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing great. You want to give us a quick introduction to why you're here tonight? That sounds a little rude.
Nothing to do, so I just dropped by. I've been with the network for right around a year as well. Used to coach, came on an indoor football world, and just been doing different things and contributing ever since.
Definitely. Speaking of which, follow him on TikTok. He's putting out a lot of good short stuff, and you guys can kind of follow along with all the latest news doing that. Krish, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. This is my second year with the network. I think I kind of
second year.
Okay.
Are you sure?
No. I was gonna say something, but then I rethought about it, and okay, I'm gonna change it up. No, I think I'm trying to go 24 hours, so I can't include this as part of my 24 hours. So I'll make that comment at 8 a.m. tomorrow. But I would consider myself industry royalty at this point, right? With arena football, I've been doing this for a while. I feel really knowledgeable about the game and humbly, but yeah, thank you.
Humbly.
Needs no introduction at this point. Needs no introduction at this point. Like none.
Seriously, he's probably been on the network more than I have by a long shot. So, man, I think that's everybody. Did we get everybody? Oh, sorry, Daniel. I skipped you. I apologize. Moving people around here too much. Daniel, go ahead and give us a quick introduction. It's been a little while since you've been on.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. I'm a co-host with Mike in our spring showcase. We cover the LFA. I'm one of pretty much in South Texas, so I'm about nearest to Mexico, which is again the Liga de Fútbol Americano. Honored to be a part of it, so I appreciate you guys having me, man. I've had a little indoor football playing experience. Currently own a semi-pro team with my brother, and other than that, I mean, I am unfortunately working. So you guys can see it's like a hotel vibe. It shit sucks. So, but it still sucks.
It's okay.
We're not with the FCC. You're fine.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys having me, man. I wanted to have been doing this for a while, so I'm glad to be here. Oh, and go Birds!
Let's go. Wait, birds? What birds?
These birds, buddy.
Philly, baby.
Let me jump back.
He's a fellow Eagles fan.
Eagles fan say.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying Black Roosters.
Oh yeah, those guys.
My bad.
Eagles, baby.
Oh.
I thought you were going with the Black Roosters. My bad.
Oh yeah, sorry guys.
All right. So the first topic of tonight is NFL free agency winners and losers. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. Said you're up there at the top left. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off with a couple of your teams you feel are winners and losers?
Yeah. First and foremost, definitely my Broncos. I feel really, really good about what they went and did. It took a little bit. It was kind of weird because I feel like in the beginning I was wondering what they were going to do. But they didn't jump. They didn't reach. They kind of overpaid with Evan Ingram because they let him leave. They should have signed him when they first talked to him. They probably could have got a little bit less. But whatever. We needed a tight end that keeps us from having to go out and overpay for a tight end. And we have the luxury if we want to go and grab the top tight end, we can try to do that, but we don't have to. So I like what the Broncos did. They addressed, key positions they needed on offense and defense as well with the safety and the linebacker. And then, like I was saying backstage, I feel like the Commanders did pretty good. I like that they went and they shored up their receiving room. I felt like that wasn't necessarily a weakness, but it wasn't at full strength last season. So it will be interesting to see what they do with an actual complement of receivers, having Debo over there. But I think so. I like those two teams, what they went out and did. I think they addressed positions that they needed to go after, and made it so even while staying young, they don't necessarily have to stick and and stick and go and try to make and hit on every draft pick, I guess you could say. So I'll say the Commanders and the Broncos as far as my winners. And then for my losers, San Francisco, I got them as my loser. I just think they just kind of, just saying that they're going to rebuild. They're going to build around Purdy. It's going to be interesting to see how that looks. I feel like they're trying to have that Tom Brady effect, and I don't know if they're quite there, especially with the NFC continuing to get stronger. But I think San Francisco was probably my biggest loser. I don't really have another one that I thought about, but I'll leave it there.
Sam, are you muted?
You muted, Sam?
I think
Sorry about that. Michael, how about you? I have a feeling the Commanders are coming.
The Commanders are coming, man, and they're going after the Eagles too. So
I do like what the Commanders did in free agency, but no, they're not actually my biggest winner. My biggest winner is Minnesota. I think Chris, we talked a little bit off air as well. I completely agree that I think Minnesota did the best with what they had. And honestly, I think one of the more underrated signings is Rondell Moore. Nobody's really talking about him as far as a third receiver is concerned. He's had some injury history. He's never really caught on in Arizona. I'm not a big fan of short wide receivers. However, he's 24 and he was very explosive in college. So I think it's a good signing for them to add with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. If the pressure's off of him, I think that he can create space. So it might be a good addition to help with J.J. McCarthy on that front. I like what they did with the defensive line. I know that's going to make Justin very mad when we get talking about winners and losers there. Jordan Mason was a great pick, but the offensive line, I'm glad that you brought this up. But the offensive line, like Will Freeze, Ryan Kelly, Justin Skull, or School, whatever you want to say, however you want to pronounce it, all those guys basically are going to end up being a key component in helping J.J. McCarthy stay healthy. So very, very key position. Obviously, I build from the inside out, that type of situation. So for me, I think Minnesota definitely had the biggest win for free agency. For me, the biggest loser. Oh, and I want to give an honorable mention to New England. I'll let Chris talk a little bit more about New England because we talked about them off air, but that's his team. But I want to give an honorable mention to New England in that front too. For me, the biggest loser was Pittsburgh. And TJ, I will let you have the floor on that one because you're the Steelers fan in the group here today. But I don't like the DK Metcalf trade. I don't think that the trade was did anything to help build the team. He's so much like George Pickens as far as what he brings to the table talent-wise. And they let Justin Fields walk. Yeah, and I know that that's a big thing from a quarterback perspective. They don't have one currently on roster. I mean, they're, I guess, going to play this Aaron Rodgers game because they don't really have a choice, which is very weird. I'd move on from him. Don't play the game. But other than that, not a single one of their signings was impactful. Not a single one. So I don't think anybody that you listed on that list that you just showed there makes an impact on any level. So
Mason Rudolph?
No.
You don't believe in Mason Rudolph coming back, the prodigal son?
Sam, I just talked about Metcalf. As far as his impact, capabilities are concerned, is he is George Pickens. I don't think that you're going to be able to run a multiple dimensioned offense with those two wide receivers unless the play breaks down.
Unless you have Aaron Rodgers.
And you're still if you have Aaron Rodgers, you're running a darkness offense. But yeah, so Pittsburgh, just not a single one of those guys that's on that list is a signing that makes an impact to me. So definitely probably my biggest loser for sure. But I'll let TJ go into it a little further.
TJ, why don't we go ahead and segue over to you then?
Well, it's a good time to segue because me and Mike actually had the exact same list. I also picked the Vikings for the best winner just because of the moves that they've made, increase offensive line, figuring out, J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. And, even with Sam Darnold leaving, I think they're still in great shape and they've, again, made a lot of great signings. But yeah, biggest loser is definitely Pittsburgh for me. I mean, they basically have reset from where they were 2 years ago. no quarterback, no offensive identity. DK Metcalf, yeah, we already have a diva-ish deep threat wide receiver with George Pickens. It makes no sense. You sign essentially just a bunch of backup players after that. You give away, you basically let Najee Harris walk because he supposedly can't produce a lot, but Pittsburgh hasn't had an offensive line in like almost a decade. The fact that he has 1,000 yards rushing with Pittsburgh, I guarantee he goes off for the Chargers this year, guaranteed. And how did they replace him? They get Kenneth Gainwell. It's at least they still have Warren, but I mean, still, it's just not looking good. And the biggest thing is they let Justin Fields walk. It was an expectation, an assumption by all Steelers fans that after the way last season ended, which majority of the fan base knew Russell Wilson was going to hit the tank too. It was assumed that Justin Fields was going to get the reins this season, full starting, no competition, no nothing. And then all of a sudden it's breaking news. He's signing with the Jets. It's all Pittsburgh's really done in free agency, in my opinion, is just literally fumble and botch every good situation. And now they're at the mercy of Aaron Rodgers, who took another turn and is supposedly contemplating retirement now too on top of it. So, they might go into the season with Mason Rudolph or have to overdraft once again at the quarterback position when, not a lot of first round talent quarterbacks are going to be available for them in the later part of the round where they're at. So Pittsburgh is by far the biggest loser, in my opinion.
We will see them not have a 500 season this year.
All of us in Pittsburgh are hoping for a losing season. That way we can get a good draft pick.
We will see. Let's transition over to Justin. Who are your winners and losers?
For me, it's probably gonna be the outside the box here, but I'm gonna go with winners. Mostly off the field. Part of it being bringing in Pete Carroll to that coaching staff. I think he'll put his culture, his stamp on the Raiders, and I think that could be a good, especially with how early they're drafting. They could potentially get a really nice player to get under his tutelage. I like them bringing in Geno Smith. I mean, it's an upgrade over Minshew and O'Connell. To my perspective, I think that's, and just the continuity between him and Pete Carroll, I think that'll be good for them on offense for fantasy wise, go for Bowers. I think that's an upgrade and should help his production as well. On the defensive side of the ball, I like their re-signing of their younger players, and I do like them giving that contract out to Max Crosby. That kind of sets them up with their edge for the foreseeable future. And I just think that the Raiders have made, it's not like the splashiest overall, but the more effective moves this offseason to try to build a foundation, because they really haven't had that for a long time over there in Las Vegas. So I think that's good for them. And I think that could be an overall positive outlook for that team going into 2025. Granted, they do have the harder division in the league, going with the Broncos, who are improving, the Chiefs there, the Chiefs and the Chargers are looking to, keep moving forward as well. So what Pete Carroll can do over there in Las Vegas will be quite a test, and I look forward to seeing it through this NFL season. My biggest loser, or one of my most significant losers of the offseason so far, would be the Cowboys. I mean, you lost Brandon Cooks, or you let him go. You bring in Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders at your running back position, which is a head scratcher to me. But the acquisition of the edges are nice. I just don't know if that exactly was a need for them, because I don't know what they're going to do with Parsons either with his contract. But I just don't know if what they're doing down in Dallas, to be honest. I don't know what kind of approach they're trying to take, and I don't think any of the moves that they made makes them necessarily better overall.
Really like that last move there, giving Cavante Turpin, former USFL player, $18
yeah,
million
I like
over 3 years. So they didn't do well, but that was one thing that I really agree with. Let's go to CJ next. CJ, who are your winners and losers for the NFL free agency?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I know they're not the big winner, but for as a Panthers fan, it's good to see us address some of our big needs on the D line, bringing in some guys that graded really high last year, according to PFF, and as far as run stopping, which we were historically bad at. I thought Rico Dowd was a great move for us to give a 1-2 punch with him and Chuba. Going and getting, I'm gonna butcher his name, but the safety from the Raiders, who was one of the highest graded run filling safeties in the NFL, was a good move. But no, I think the Bears really did some good things beefing up their offensive line. They're one of those teams. Them and the Rams, I thought, both did some really good things in the NFC. To me, one of the biggest losers has to be the Texans. You trade away 2 starters on your offensive line. You let Stephon Diggs walk out the door. Looking at that list right now, I mean, C.J. Garner-Johnson's a solid move. Cam Robinson's not a bad move, but you basically brought in 3 receivers to replace what Stephon could do. You trade 2 starting offensive linemen, including Laramie Tunsil, who, is one of the top tackles in the game. And, you trade him at 29, 30 years old with a lot of ball left ahead of him for, some picks. I don't know if Houston's already hitting the panic reset. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was a huge offseason for them to this point. And then one team that I thought went under the radar but filled some needs, and it's going to be unpopular, is the Kansas City Chiefs. Bringing back Nick Bolton, who's a really good young linebacker, bringing back Kareem Hunt, bringing in, re-signing Trey Smith, who was playing at an all-pro level at guard, bringing in, a tackle that's better than having your guard play tackle. I'm trying to see who else on this list. Then they just kind of felt like they saw what they screwed up in the Super Bowl and they tried to adjust it. So, and then on top of that, Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes restructured their contracts. So I think that's only going to help them going forward.
Agreed. Always going to have the cap space to bring in these guys. Krish, have we called you up yet?
No, so I kind of mentioned it off camera, like Michael was saying, but Minnesota, right? I feel me and CJ, we always talk about it in a different context, but depth leads to championships, right? Long term, and I think if you can have depth, I think they did a great job adjusting that with the running back room. Jordan Mason, his potential is untapped, right? I think he's a really special player. I know he's coming off a terrible injury, but I really think he can do some great things at a third down back over there. I like the D-line additions, but my biggest losers are the Steelers, right? You put all your eggs in one basket, like you've been saying. I know Justin Fields wasn't great last year, but he wasn't horrible either. And, you bring him back another year, same team, same system. It could have worked. But Aaron Rodgers, I think, will be interesting. My big take, and I'll say it now, I think Jackson Dart can win a Super Bowl for the city. I really do. I'm a huge fan of him, and I really hope that he lands with the Steelers. He's a really special player, and I think 2 years of sitting behind Aaron Rodgers could greatly benefit him in the long run. So
it's not the worst idea, honestly. I think if you're bringing in Rodgers, you have to kind of handcuff him to a rookie at some point. I mean, he's what, 40-something, 42, I think it is. So at this point, it's definitely time to be planning for a future if you're bringing him in. Daniel, let's go to you next. Who are your winners and losers?
My top winner, I'm a big boy, all right? I love my offensive line. And I think my main winner is Caleb Williams and the Bears because they finally got him an O-line, and they're building it legitly from the inside out. Hopefully, Joe Tooney doesn't have to play left tackle. Hopefully, he's going to bump down back to where he's supposed to be at the guard position. That's the biggest thing. A quarterback like Caleb, he loves to step up and run around, and he loves to do his thing, and that's fine, man. Let him do his thing. That's who he's gonna have to be. But you got to build the foundation in. As far as my loser, we just saw this team get dismantled in the Super Bowl, and they did it in a historic fashion. The Eagles beat them by only rushing 4 the entire night. There's no way the Chiefs haven't tried to bolster that offensive line in a more positive way. The fact that they haven't gone, and I know they were banking on, I know everybody was like, oh, they're negotiating with Ronnie Stanley, this and this. Obviously, that didn't happen. It fell through. But I think them not going after at least someone, whether a trade, any type of thing. Yes, you still have Pat Mahomes, but I think that was a very evident game for them to try to fix things. The Chiefs as my loser.
Gotcha. Completely agree. They've done a little bit, but it doesn't really move the needle for me. I know they just won a Super Bowl, last year. So they probably have some faith in their roster and being able to turn over certain positions and still be competitive, but definitely have to wonder about that. My biggest winner is the New England Patriots. I really like what they did so far in free agency, bringing in, first of all, basically a whole new offensive line with Morgan Moses, Wes Schweischer, Garrett Bradbury, all of which I think are going to have better seasons this year together than they did last season. I think Matt Collins is a sneaky good addition. Honestly, I think his biggest advantage on the Patriots is going to be his special teams play. But I definitely think he's going to be in the mix at wide receiver. Obviously, you don't give the guy $4.2 million a year if you're not expecting him to contribute on offense. Milton Williams is honestly one of the players on this list that scares me a little bit. They gave him a lot of money coming from being a backup in Philadelphia. But I like the Harold Landry signing. I like the Chasen signing. I think those two guys can be effective. I also like Carlton Davis coming over. So, I think they did some good things. Really like what the Commanders did. As an Eagles fan, I'm slightly discouraged because I think they got a lot better this offseason. That trade for Tunsil, in my mind, screams that they understand where they stand right now as a team. You have a young quarterback. You have that 4-year window where he's really cheap. He's on that rookie deal. Go out, spend some money around him, get him to the point where he can be comfortable, bring in some players around him. I like that they brought back Noah Brown. I like that they brought in Michael Gallup, brought in Deebo Samuel, John Bates, brought back Zach Ertz. They floated up around their young quarterback, and I think it was an intelligent move. Lot to like, especially in the trade department for them this year. So really like those moves. My losers, there's 2 of them, and really the Colts are one of my teams, but they could quickly change into being a winner depending on how things go at the quarterback position. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones. I don't think he's going to be a great addition. I personally think that it's a miss. But if he turns around and shuts me up and plays well, all of a sudden this class looks a lot different for them. And then my other loser is the Titans. To me, walking into the draft with a quarterback room that is highlighted by Will Levis, Tim Boyle, and Brandon Allen is scary as can be for me. So I understand that they've got the top pick. They can go ahead and select whatever quarterback they want, but it still feels like they could have brought in a veteran that could start ahead of a rookie and kind of get them through a year. But if you roll out there with Brandon Allen or Tim Boyle, you better expect to be a losing team. And I'm not super excited about any of the other additions. Van Jefferson is kind of cool. He's originally from Tennessee. But realistically, not much to love about their free agency class so far.
You could be walking into the draft with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as your only quarterbacks.
I actually feel better about Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson than I do. Tennessee.
Stop it.
Go back and look at some of those games.
I will take Will Levis over Mason Rudolph any day of the week. Stop it.
Okay, hey, that makes one of us. That makes one of us. Maybe some others in the background here, but we're gonna hit a commercial and then we're gonna transition over to our predictions for where Aaron Rodgers lands, which should be kind of a fun one. I'm curious to see your guys' perspectives on that one.
Get in the game at BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. Over 50 sports, live betting, online casino, horse racing, esports, and more. Start now and enjoy easy deposits, fastest payouts, and the biggest bonuses. And for over 25 years, BetUS is a name you can trust. Mention TV 150 now and get up to 150% in bonuses. BetUS, we've got your game. Call or visit BetUS.com now to join.
All right, transitioning over, Aaron Rodgers has left the New York Jets. As we all know, he was not in their future plans. They've since brought in Justin Fields. He was weighing out a couple different teams. He looked at the Giants, the Vikings, the Steelers, and now the Giants have since signed 2 quarterbacks, so it sounds like they're out of the market for Rodgers, leaving him with the Vikings and the Steelers, ultimately weighing those decisions. So let's go to Chris first on this one. I'm kind of curious what he has to say about this particular topic. Where do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up?
I think Steelers, right? I think he's destined. I think they're desperate. I don't think they would have let Darnold walk, right? If they were going to bring in, you know what I mean? Like they believe in JJ. They've said many times, management, ownership, coaches, they want JJ. So I don't think they're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. I think I think he would fit better with Minnesota. Definitely, I think he would be much better fit with Minnesota than the Steelers. But, I think he's going to go to Steelers. That relationship with Tomlin has been building over the years, and I think it's just meant to happen. One final ride with a historic franchise. Makes sense.
Interesting. Let's go to Justin next. You're muted, buddy.
If I had to pick a location, for the chaos of it, I want the prophecy to be fulfilled. And I want him to go to Minnesota and just create absolute chaos in the division once again. I think it'd be entertaining as more so than effective. I don't know at this point what he could bring to any team that would help get them over to the hump or where they need to be. I just see it bringing him on your team as more of just a liability than an asset.
That's fair. Let's go to CJ next. CJ, where do you see Aaron Rodgers landing?
I think he's going to end up on his couch in sunny California. And it'll probably be a situation, in all honesty, where a team towards the end of the season, team that's in the playoff hunt, maybe not loving their quarterback play, or maybe their quarterback goes down. Maybe he's a during the season signee type of guy. I just don't know, is he still a top 15 quarterback in the league? Yes. But I don't know. I don't see him at 40, what he's going to bring to a roster that's going to be worth the price point that you're going to have to pay.
That is fair. Let's go to Michael next.
Hopefully a retirement home never to be heard from again. The end.
All right. TJ, we know you want him with the Steelers, right?
I really like this retirement talk. No, I really do think I agree with CJ. I think he's gonna retire, but not maybe officially retire, and then later on in the year when a team needs him because their guy goes down, they're in the playoff race kind of thing. They might coax him out by, obviously he's not going to have to worry about going through training camp and all that stuff. He's, going to get everything he wants because that's how he is. But for the start of the season, he's going to be in a very dark room with a crap load of mushrooms and just chill.
Hey, I mean, for some people that sounds like a lot of fun. Not me, not my cup of tea. Just saying. Let's go to Cedric next. Who do you have, or where do you have him landing?
Aaron Rodgers? Well, my cat Chip thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to go sign with the Titans because the Titans don't want the pressure and they don't want to have to deal with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, and they're going to draft Travis Hunter first, and they're going to change their entire identity and start airing the ball out instead of being a running team. So Aaron Rodgers is going to go over to the Titans, and then they're going to take a quarterback in probably the fifth, probably the fourth or fifth round, just to have a quarterback maybe hits, and then see what they can do with Aaron Rodgers, and if not, then they'll go back to the drawing board next season.
It's not the worst idea. I mean, we'll see how things go. They definitely aren't the best at drafting quarterbacks over the past couple of years. All right, Daniel, where do you see him landing?
I think he's going to be definitely on some retreat somewhere, exploring his mind, possibly ruin someone else's life out there. But he'll be in a CBS booth. I think he's going to be a commentator or something. Someone will coax him out, and he'll get back into the love of game the love of the game. Realistically, I don't see why he wouldn't go to Pittsburgh. Realistically, I think that'll be the ultimate final straw for Steelers fans. But I don't know. I don't think he's worth the trouble. And I used to be a huge Rodgers supporter, but he got crazier and crazier. I would love him to go to Minnesota and complete the Brett Favre trilogy, but Brett Favre to follow, So
I actually have him landing with Minnesota. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I take less money to go play for Arizona or Minnesota.
Rodgers taking less money? Oof.
Well, I mean, believe it or not, a lot of people forget he did take a pay cut with the Jets.
That's true.
So, just saying. I'm not saying that he's going to take a lot less money. I'm just saying, if I'm choosing between the Steelers or the Minnesota Vikings that just went 14-3 with Sam Darnold, I'm looking at that team as a ready-made competitor, especially after what they did this offseason.
Well, I mean, the Steelers did make the playoffs too, though, with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson.
You're not wrong.
They're pretty ready-made too. And plus, Aaron Rodgers has that Netflix money too, man.
You're not wrong. That is true. He's got the Netflix money, so he could take a pay cut for sure. That's for sure. But that's enough about Aaron Rodgers in my personal opinion. But
hey, Ron.
Well, the problem with Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota is it doesn't make any sense for Minnesota.
No,
it doesn't make
not
a
at all.
single damn thing.
They got to get JJ McCarthy going.
Yeah, there's not a single shred of logic for them to go get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Not a single shred.
Unless JJ McCarthy is still hurt.
Well, I mean, if JJ McCarthy's still hurt, then that would make probably more sense. But he's reportedly 100% healthy. So
reportedly,
from him and from the coaching staff,
he wasn't even hurt last year. I don't want to hear it. That was his redshirt year, and we all know.
You think they wanted to roll out Sam Darnold?
No, they didn't want to roll out Sam Darnold.
We
got Sam Darnold, so we're gonna go. We're good.
But they definitely wanted to prep JJ as much as possible.
What? And then Gregg May go out there lighting it up. JJ would have been out there.
They almost started. I would have started Milton, but
you watch Jaden Daniels go one game from the championship game, and you're just gonna leave JJ on the bench like, hey, bro.
Yeah, a top 10 pick like that, they traded up for. They draft him at 10. Like, there's just no way that they're gonna.
After seeing him in the preseason,
Didn't they trade up for him too? Right? They jumped ahead of the Broncos.
Just saying.
Yeah, I just don't see a world where they're gonna move on from it. Like they believe in him. That's gonna be their guy. They're gonna get at least 2 to 3 years out of him being the starter.
But they're gonna get 4. They're gonna get 4 more years on that contract. But that window for Minnesota may not be 4 more years.
Not at all.
So you think about Justin Jefferson.
He has 1 more year.
You're thinking about all these pieces that they have.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if JJ McCarthy's not 100%, he's not 100% the guy. Why would you not put a flyer out there for a guy at least to get you through early on? And then if McCarthy is better and he's performing or whatever,
But
going off a 14-win season with Sam Darnold to all of a sudden a guy that's never taken a snap in the NFL, to me, when there's a guy out there that could at least be the bridge guy, that's what I'm looking at. If I'm ownership, if I'm a head coach, I think McCarthy can be a really good player, but you're going from a 14-15 win season in the playoffs to a guy that's never taken a regular season NFL snap. That is a big difference. Say what you want about Sam Darnold, but even when Sam Darnold was in Carolina the first little bit, they were 4-1 before they went downhill. Sam Darnold finds ways to make things happen. So I'm just saying, if you feel 100% comfortable with a guy that's never taken a snap after going 14-15 wins last year, I mean,
my only counter to that is two things. A, the NFL and these teams are trying to build teams around guys on rookie contracts to be able to win. That's the goal nowadays. So you drafted JJ McCarthy, you have to roll him out with that team and the way that team is made. You have to roll him out as a starter to see what you got in him. And secondly, what did you see with him with the Jets last year? Not you specifically, CJ, but just in general. What did you see with him with the Jets last year that make you think that Aaron Rodgers is capable of even returning to a shell of his former self to be able to be a winning quarterback of that caliber? Like, Sam Darnold won 14 games, sure, with Minnesota, but how much of that was Sam Darnold and how much of that was in spite of Sam Darnold? So from a logistical standpoint of a team perspective, you have to wonder, what does Aaron Rodgers provide to me when I looked at what happened with the Jets last year? And to me, I think I'd just rather take the shot with the guy who hasn't played a snap in the NFL, because you have a ready-made team. You've brought in pieces to make sure that he succeeds. If he doesn't succeed, that is on him at that point. So I just think with the way the NFL is with rookie contracts for quarterbacks, it's smarter just to roll with JJ McCarthy and just forget about the Aaron Rodgers talk altogether if I'm Minnesota.
That's fair. I mean, everybody's entitled to an opinion. That's why we're here tonight. So if you have an opinion on where Aaron Rodgers land, drop that in the comments for us. I'll definitely make sure to pull it up while we move on to the next subject, which, staying in the vein of quarterbacks, we're going to go ahead and talk about what quarterbacks you guys think will be drafted in the first round. So with that in mind, we'll go to Justin first. Which quarterbacks do you see going in the first round? And if you want to throw out the teams you think they get selected by, that would be awesome. You don't have to throw out teams, for the record. If you just want to give us names you think will be first rounders.
I think it's probably not. I think Shedeur goes in the first round, and I could see him going to Las Vegas to be under Geno Smith for however long. I think it was a 3-year deal. So if you give Shedeur 3 years, if Geno goes through his full contract, behind him and Pete Carroll and that offense, that coaching staff, and they build through the draft, is like drafting some offensive linemen and do like what we've been saying tonight, is building in the trenches out around those rookie quarterbacks. I feel that probably be a spot for him. I think Cam Ward ends up going in the first round, and I think it's going to be the Browns, and that just sounds gross, because I would like him to see him go somewhere else other than the Browns. But as far as any other quarterbacks going in the first round, I don't know. I don't feel like the Steelers will draft the quarterback in the first round. But that's something I could see them doing. But I don't know who they would take if those two were off the board. I mean, I'd like to see Jackson Dart maybe get at the tail end of the first round, but I don't know who. But I haven't really honestly looked into like outside of those two as far as quarterbacks going in the first round of the NFL draft.
No Jackson Dart?
But possibly to the Steelers, but I don't know if like they trade back. Like they're kind of like a wild card team for me in the draft. I don't know what they're gonna do as far as where they're gonna approach their needs, because they obviously need offensive line help. They need a quarterback. They lost Najee Harris, so they could use a running back. I'm not totally certain about any other options there. I haven't looked that far into it.
That's fair. That's fair. Moving on to TJ. TJ, who do you have going in the first round of the draft?
In terms of quarterbacks, definitely Cam Ward. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, even though I don't think he's quite worth the hype. I do personally see Jackson Dart getting drafted. Hopefully, he is with the Steelers, because that's who I want the Steelers to pick.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know how that works, and with Mike Tomlin calling the shots, who knows what's going on? Hopefully the GM overrules him. But other than that, I don't really think it's going to be a quarterback heavy first round this year. It's kind of another lull year for quarterbacks.
Fair. Sid, who do you have being selected in the first round?
Well, I mean, I do see Cam Ward going in the top 3 picks for sure. And then I think Shedeur is gonna sneak in the first round. As the second quarter, I think he's gonna be second quarterback off the board. But I mean, Jalen Milroy did run a 4.40 unofficially at his pro day. Dude's fast, and he bailed Alabama out quite a bit last season with his legs. I can see a team reaching to take a flyer on him, especially somebody like maybe the Jets who have Justin Fields. They can sit and wait. Our teams thinking that they can maybe get, kind of strike lightning in that Lamar Jackson type of way by picking him up at the end of the first round. But I see Jalen Milroy sneaking into the first round with the team getting desperate, maybe feeling that he's the best player available for them. So I got those 3 going.
Okay, interesting. Let's go to Michael next. Who do you have in the first round this year?
I think that you're going to see a minimum of 3, but I think you could see a maximum of 5. Seattle at 18 is the interesting one, because with Sam Darnold basically on a 1-year deal, Seattle may feel comfortable taking a Jackson Dart at 18. If that happens, I think that Pittsburgh then... So there was a report that came out today that Pittsburgh is in love with Jalen Milroe, and that they are comfortable taking Jalen Milroe as high as the first round. So Pittsburgh at 21 could go Milroe even if Dart is on the board. So if Seattle takes Dart at 18, Milroe goes 21 to Pittsburgh. I think the Rams at 26 would then take Quinn Ewers. So I think Cam Ward's going 1 to Tennessee, and I think Shedeur is going to go 6 to the Raiders, and Geno Smith is going to lose his starting job because of the pressure coming from Dion and his family. I do. I do not believe there is a team out there that is comfortable drafting Shedeur Sanders as a backup quarterback and having to deal with the family perspective that comes with everything that comes around Sanders.
The Giants.
I don't think the Giants will.
They got Russ. That's why they brought in Russ.
That's why they brought in Russ.
Jameis.
Right. I think that's why they brought in Russ, was so they don't have to deal with Shedeur Sanders as a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I really do not think that the Giants are going to take him at 3. I think that's going to be the Travis Hunter pick.
Ooh.
So, obviously you could see a trade popping in across the board somewhere of that nature, but I think you could see as high as 5. I think Seattle is the wild card. If Seattle goes quarterback because Sam Darnold's basically on a 1-year deal, I think you could see Pittsburgh then go Milroe. I think Pittsburgh may go Milroe regardless across the board, but I think the Rams at 26 could take a quarterback because Matthew Stafford was already toying with retirement, so there is a possibility they may want to get their guy now, and there's no pressure for him to start right away at 26. So I think you could see as many as 5. It's just Seattle is the wild card to me at 18.
That's fair. CJ, who do you have going in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Cam Ward and Shador, they're going to be more than likely top 5, top 6 picks, both of them respectively. But then if you just look across the landscape of the NFL, who needs either needs a quarterback or needs someone in waiting or a strong number 2, Pittsburgh's in that conversation. Heck, call me crazy. If I'm the Lions in the 28-29 spot, do I go ahead and get a number 2 guy? I mean, Jared Goff's, I think he's 31, maybe 32. Still playing good level football, but why not get someone in if it's a Jackson Dart or a Quinn Ewers or someone that, kind of fits that mold of a Dan Campbell team, and go and have them learn for, 1, 2, 3 years, whatever the case may be, and kind of get like that Aaron Rodgers to Brett Favre or the Jordan Love to Aaron Rodgers situation. I mean, heck, the last 2 years they've signed Teddy Bridgewater in the end of December, and this man Teddy won a high school state championship and then came and was the backup quarterback for the Lions. So, could they be a team that is in that mix? I think the Steelers are in the mix for a quarterback. And then another team, I think if you're the Jets, even though you just brought in Justin Fields, do you bring in someone to compete with him? Do you bring in someone to be behind him? I thought Justin Fields did a more than fair job with the Steelers, but let's just be honest. The Jets, I mean, Devontae Adams is gone. Their offensive line's not amazing. Their run game wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be. The defense was average last year. Like, it's not a great roster to be on. So, do you find someone, if you're not happy with a skill guy or something like that, what do they do there? The team that I'm kind of like, wouldn't be surprised if they took a quarterback, even though I don't think they necessarily need one, would be the Cowboys. For the last two to 3 seasons, it's been, Dak Prescott wants this money, Dak Prescott wants that money, he wants this, he wants that, and then he's been either hurt or they've underperformed. So, to go back to the point that you talked about with Aaron Rodgers, how much longer do you let Dak Prescott eat up your entire cap space to get mediocre football?
That's fair.
To me, they're the dark horse team in that early, like, teens. Excuse me, that early teens that may say, look, could we go get an Ashton Genty? Absolutely. Or do we go get the next quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and now you trade Dak Prescott for something else? Or you trade Dak Prescott to one of those teams that are picking in the first 6, and maybe you go get a Shador, or you go get someone like that. I don't know.
I feel like it's the same Cowboys that rolled out Tony Romo every year until it was done. I think
you have a good point there.
They're going to ride Dak till they can't no more.
I think you can see, though, realistically, I think you could see 4 quarterbacks go. Milroe, if he sneaks into the first round, that'd be a big surprise. I mean, athleticism, undeniable. Arm strength, undeniable. But he had an up and down season, I believe. And I don't know. To me, he's a good top of the second round guy, where you can save a little money as an organization, and then on top of that, there's not as much pressure on him to come in and change a franchise right away. So maybe he's a late or early second round pick. But I think even Ewers is on that same line to me as Milroe. Like they're both fringe bottom of the first, but probably going to be high to middle second round picks.
I do want to say that there is a possibility that Cleveland and the Giants could trade into the end of the first round and draft a quarterback as well, because Cleveland has picked 33 and the Giants have picked 34. So it would be a pretty decent, pretty cheap move up for the most part to get a quarterback from a team like Philadelphia, a team like Kansas City, who are sitting there at 31, 32 and drafting a quarterback in that front. That's the reason why I don't believe the Giants are going to be in the market for Shedeur at 3, primarily because there are those fringe guys like CJ was just talking about that could possibly be there at the end of the first, and they won't have to leap a ton of teams if they slide past like Seattle and the Rams. So that's the only reason why I don't think the Giants take Shedeur at 3.
And it'd be a good situation, for whoever that guy is. I mean, Russell Wilson's been a good quarterback throughout his career. Now he's had some down years here recently, things like that. But between him and Jameis, if I'm a young quarterback, I mean, that's 2 solid minds to learn behind for a little bit before I have to take my chance. Now for the Giants, doesn't make sense. You just brought in Russ for a 1-year deal and Jameis on a 2-year deal. To me, it's one or the other. Either they should have went all in on Russ and brought in a young guy, or you go all in on Jameis, bring in a young guy. I just think you're going to end up with too much going on there. Bringing in a young guy and he go in and now he's essentially the third quarterback. Because, I mean, we don't know how these guys will handle that mental side of it.
I think that's definitely something you would address in the interviews up to the point, but I think there's a lot of reasons why it would make sense for a team like that to go ahead and select a guy in the bottom of the first round and have that 5th-year option. You have him come in, learn for a season at least. Obviously, you got Russell Wilson there on a 1-year deal. You've got Jameis on a 2-year deal, who realistically is obviously okay being a backup. So, I mean, you get a guy that you come in and hopefully he's ready after the first year with Wilson expected to start. And then you kind of give him the next couple years to let you know if he's going to make it to his 5th year. I mean, it makes some sense to me. I wasn't really considering that, but if you're talking trade from 34 to 32, that's going to cost 1 pick. Like Philly's not going to try and fleece somebody for 2 spots. It just wouldn't make any sense, especially because they're not going to draft a quarterback. So
now I do wonder if that situation doesn't happen, a team that I was just thinking about that may be in the market for a 2nd round pick like a Ewers or a Milroe. If I'm the Colts, I mean, do I keep riding this Anthony Richardson experiment? I mean, the guy got tired and came out, and Joe Flacco was in there slinging it. At what do they move on? With Cleveland, like, what do they do with Deshaun still being hurt? There's stuff I've read where he's going to be late, may not even play the first part of the season. Like, who's their quarterback going to be? So, I don't know.
That's a good point. Just real quick, Tennessee, in the top 10, we got Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants. Patriots are at 4. They obviously don't need a quarterback. Jaguars, 5. They don't need a quarterback. Raiders might take one. Jets might take one. Panthers probably not taking one. Saints could realistically take one. Bears, not so much. 49ers, no. Cowboys, maybe. Dolphins, no. Colts, maybe. Falcons, no. Cardinals, no. Bengals, no. Seahawks, maybe. Buccaneers, probably not. Broncos, definitely not. Steelers, probably, if they can get one decent enough. Chargers, no. Packers, no. Vikings, maybe. Doubtful. Texans, no. Rams, maybe. Ravens, no. Lions, no. Commanders, no. Bills, no. Chiefs, no. Eagles, no. So, I mean, realistically, up there at the top part of the draft, there's a lot of teams that could definitely consider a quarterback. But with that in mind, Daniel, who do you see going in the first round?
Barring any trades or anything like that, I do see Cam Ward going first. Shador, he's going to be. I don't agree with it, but he's going to be a first round pick. I do see a team like Pittsburgh falling in love with Jackson Dart. Or, I mean, now that new report came out right about as far as Jalen Monroe, I just think the second round will be crazy for QBs. I don't think a team's going to risk pulling the trigger on a first-round pick unless they trade back in towards the end. Then I think it'll be panic mode. Now, I'll tell you what, we've seen drafts where in the top 5 or 6, things just start falling apart for one player, and it just goes crazy. Don't be surprised if we see, right away 3 quarterbacks go like immediately. Yes, obviously New York went to go get Russ and Jameis, but who's to say they don't want Jackson Dart? Who's to say one of these teams doesn't fall in love with someone like that, and that's how it goes. But realistically, for the sake of the argument, I do see Shador and Cam going first, and then I do see Jackson Dart as a first-round talent. I think the Senior Bowl, as much as I don't really agree with it being the best evaluation thing, I think everyone fell in love with him there. He had a lot of zip on every single throw. But I think that second round is going to be crazy, even though the question was first-round quarterbacks. But, I would love to see things go crazy. My value pick, I think, my boy from LSU goes number 1, but I'm not going to say anything, all right? Cam Ward's cool at number 1. I just don't want Tennessee to get another quarterback and just destroy him, I had to live through Jake Locker and all that stuff, so.
I actually thought Locker was going to be a good quarterback, and then, it all fell apart real quick.
I mean, I saw Vince Young get destroyed by Jeff Fisher, and now our boy Jeff Fisher's doing other things around there, but.
I like Callahan as a coach, though. I like Callahan as a coach. I think that I think Cam fits a lot what he does offensively, philosophy wise. So I think that's why Cam is pretty much a lock at 1, in my opinion, just because of what he brings for a philosophy to that offense.
That's fair. Looks like Chris had to jump off and head to bed. It's past his bedtime. His mom said it's time to go. So just kidding. He ran out of the
Pedialyte.
In that vein, we're gonna hit a quick commercial and then we'll come back with some other topics. We got some good ones coming up, so stick with us. If you're watching, we appreciate it. Hit that like button no matter where you're at. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all of it helps. It just tells that platform that they should share this out. We need that help, so go ahead and hit that like button real quick and we'll be right back.
Good luck, everyone here. Oh my Lord, who is this? Joe Burrow! Joe Burrow! AFC North smoked it right here, baby. Fanatics, authenticated Joe Burrow on the speed. Incredible hit. Going to Alpha Wolf. Congratulations, Alpha.
All right, so we're going to transition over to talking about running backs. Obviously, you see the 3 guys on the screen. There's a reason why we're highlighting these guys, because all 3 of them changed teams last season, and they all blew up with their new teams. So with that in mind, let's go to Daniel first, and we'll work our way backward. Do you believe that last season reignited the value for NFL running backs?
To GMs, never. To the world, yes. To us, the true football fans, we always know, right? I mean, you established a run game, to the old school, and I know I'm 32 now. Oh God, I feel much older. But I'm an offensive lineman. I want to establish the run. I want to do those things. I want to enforce our enforce our power and our will on other people. And I think the best way we just saw Saquon do it should have been the MVP. I'm just throwing it out there. Don't get start a fire. Should have been the MVP hands down. Derrick Henry's a beast. My thing is though, no matter what, these GMs, you don't care.
Nope.
Cue the Tomlin, the meme. We do not care.
Nope.
And they're just not going to. They never will. As we get, there'll be a sparkle, like we just saw. Saquon, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had an amazing year. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you run the ball. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter who it is. GMs, the younger they get, the newer age that it is, we won't see it. To the fans, though, I really hope they do. I love seeing Saquon back hurdle and all this crazy stuff, but I think we just got to be realistic, man. There's more money. Look what we just saw. What's his name? I can't believe it's slipping my head. The Bengals receiver. Jesus, what is it? Jamar Chase. Look what his contract. So, no, I just unfortunately don't see it.
That is fair. CJ, what about you, buddy?
I mean, I think it brought a little bit of attention back to that position. But it's tough. Like, at the end of the day, GMs, ownerships, whatever, they're not going to pay a guy that has the shortest shelf life of any position on the field. Like, there's guys who are obviously unicorns, the Derrick Henrys, the Josh Jacobs, Saquon, when McCaffrey was healthy, but at the end of the day, it's a quarterback driven league. I mean, the Eagles demolished the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs showed that they could stop the run. I think Saquon had less than 30 yards rushing, which if anybody had told me before the game that he was going to have under 100 yards rushing, I would have told you were lying.
Right.
But that was the same guy that was on the heels of breaking the single season rushing record. So to me, I think it brought back some attention to the position, but I think it's like anything, like having an elite receiver, elite quarterback. You can get by without having an elite running back. You can't get by without having an elite quarterback, or not having a number one receiver, or not having, some of these other positions. So, guys like Saquon and those guys, they're unicorns. There's not every guy in the league can be those guys, just like not every guy can be, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, so on and so forth.
I like that point. There are only a handful of running backs that can really change the scope of a team like those three did this past season. It just so happens they all ended up hitting free agency at the same time. Real quick, just wanted to shout out, we're this close to hitting 100 live viewers. So if you're watching right now, make sure to hit that like button, share, comment, all that fun stuff. All the engagement really helps tell whatever platform you're watching on to suggest this out to new viewers. So definitely would appreciate all that. Said, I saw you dancing a little bit there. Was that like running like you're running back, or like...
running up? I'm running back. I mean, I feel like CJ said, we've seen attention drawn back onto the running back, and I think it was Daniel who said first too. To the fan, we're like, oh my gosh, look at these running backs, man. It's looking like the 90s or something like that out there. You know what I mean? Like, but I think we always see that, though. We always see the good running backs and then these guys at the top. But also, I think, too, it's not going to change the rest of the running backs, how they're getting paid, because you're about to see about, 5 running backs go in the first 3 rounds, at least 5 to 10 running backs go in the first 3 rounds, if not more, maybe in the first 2 rounds. And at least one of those running backs is supposed to be exactly like those guys, Saquon, Derrick Henry, and who was that guy you had on there?
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs, and Ashton Genty. And then you got a handful of other. I mean, Ohio State has 2 running backs in the draft that is expected to go in, the top 60 picks probably. So I think the fact that we're about to see a whole new group of running backs come into the league that are all going to be on rookie contracts. We're seeing running backs on 2-year contracts, playing right now, and what's his name over at in Jacksonville. Anyway, whatever. You're seeing all these younger running. What I'm saying is basically, I don't think we're gonna see a market reset. Like CJ was saying, I don't think the GMs are gonna pay these guys like they should be paid because they still see the fact that they still see more running backs coming into the system. And then you're seeing teams being able to use, a 2 running back system like the Lions. If you're following the Lions mold. Whereas, you can pay these guys, but you don't have to break the bank to pay these guys because you can have, multiple running backs to cover multiple roles that are really great at what they do and working together. So I think you're still going to see running backs have that life that we expect them to have, where it's, 5 to 7 seasons or whatever it may be, and still bounce around and still see a lot kind of hit free agency and wait before they go to a team, because teams know, like, it's great and but also you got to think, like, the Eagles were a running back away. They quite honestly were a running back away. The last time they were in the Super Bowl with DeAndre Swift, that was the whole thing. They had to amp up their running game, and that's exactly what they did to the team power with Saquon. So unless you're a team that's a running back away, a running back isn't really the biggest thing that's going to get you to the Super Bowl.
That is fair. Michael, we kind of skipped you there. What is your take on this one?
Pay your running backs. First and foremost, pay them because they touch the ball more than any other player other than quarterback on the field. So pay them according. Pay them according. Yeah, that doesn't count though. I played center. That doesn't count. Pay them accordingly. You know what I mean? Like, pay them accordingly. However, the players that you mentioned, you could have probably put Joe Mixon on that list too.
Oh yeah, no,
you probably could have put
definitely.
Joe Mixon on that list too. But those guys are the types of running backs that are from a different mold, right? Those are the guys that are every down backs that can be every down backs. Whereas you take a look at the Detroit Lions mold, the Detroit Lions are literally the epitome of what every team should be doing in the NFL. Because if you want to prolong your running back, that is the way to do it. You get 2 guys that are high caliber and you rotate them in back and in and out. That's just the way it should be done. The running back by committee is going to should save the position, but at the same time it hurts the position. However, the value of these running backs are never going to see it as long as everybody continues to compare the running back to one thing. Everybody wants a workhorse. Everybody compares running back to workhorse. Workhorse this, workhorse that. And that's not the way the league is set up anymore. From high school, from even Pop Warner on, everybody's running a form of West Coast, spread, or air raid style systems nowadays. We just saw Darius Slayton. Now, I don't know when the last time Darius Slayton did fucking anything in the league. Signed a 3-year, $37 million deal. The Eagles signed Saquon Barkley at 3 years, $39 million. You cannot tell me, and I know it's the Giants organization, but you cannot tell me that there is a single wide receiver that's a wide receiver 3 on any team in the league, that is more valuable to their team than Saquon Barkley. But a lot of these guys are paid more than Saquon because of the position thing. I think that's bullshit, and I think it's crap. So pay your running backs, plain and simple. And I'll go even further. I don't think there's a wide receiver 3 on any team that's more valuable than David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs is to the Lions. So,
fair.
Yeah, the running back position, I love the running back position. There's an influx coming in because that's just the way that this league is. However, the value of the position, the last year is going to be a double-edged sword. on one hand, you're going to be looking at it from a standpoint like, oh, workhorse running backs do exist. When in reality, they're the unicorn, like CJ said before he, left. Those are the unicorn players. Those players aren't around anymore. So you need to find a way to do it, and Detroit has found the perfect way to do it. And yet, here we are bringing up 4 guys that were workhorses last year who had really good years, and now the league might be going, workhorse backs. So we're going to start forcing people to be workhorse backs again, and it's going to plummet again and blow up in their faces.
That's fair. That's fair. I think like you said, it's a new age. Yeah, I think the workhorse doesn't necessarily have to take 20 carries a game. Maybe it's 20 touches a game and 7 of those are receptions or something like that. You got to find a way to get that guy in space and not necessarily bang him up in between the tackles every single play, and find a way to kind of maximize value while minimize the hits that he takes. But TJ, I'm curious of your thoughts on this, especially given the fact that you're a Steelers fan and you just mentioned Najee Harris earlier. Would you have preferred that they paid Najee, or do you think there's a better back out there? And how do you feel about the running back position as a whole?
I would have liked to see him keep Najee, just because, we drafted him. And, to be honest, I mean, a lot of the offense went through him in some way, shape, or him or Warren, especially out of the backfield catching passes. So I do wish they would have kept Najee. Like I said before, I think he's going to have, speaking of free agent running backs, I think he's going to have a big year next year with the Chargers now. For me, the word resurgence, it doesn't necessarily mean a big blow up, but I think it's going to be more focused on in the future now because, said it earlier, the Eagles realistically, if they had Saquon in the last one, they might have been the team three-peating this year, or if nothing else, they would have beat the Chiefs both times. I mean, that's how close they were. So if you are a team that has a lot of pieces, and a running back, especially an all-star running back, comes up on the market that can fit your offense and scheme, then yeah, it's going to get a lot more focus. I think a lot more of just the overall position is going to kind of go under a microscope again. It's not going to be considered the forgotten position like it has felt like for the past couple of years. That's for sure. And yes, I hope they do get paid because they do deserve it. They take a lot of beating. Just want to throw that out there.
That is fair. Justin, let's go up to you. How do you feel about the running back position moving forward?
I think with the running backs that are coming into the league, they'll want to go to these teams of these players that move to new teams, where they're like, look at Mixon and Barkley and Henry. They all have in common a strong offensive line. Even the Detroit Lions with Montgomery and Gibbs, their teams have established a strong offensive line, and they're able to do what they need to do in the run game behind those guys and make them even look even better. And I think and for fantasy football purposes, you want to see that workhorse back or whatever for, points and whatnot. But for the NFL, I think it's not there anymore. It's gone. I think Michael said it perfectly. It's not the age of the game anymore. It's running back by committee, and these college guys that are coming in are going to have to realize that they're more likely going to be like sharing a backfield to somebody else than taking it on themselves. And they can strive and try to be like a Barkley and a Mixon and carve their own path. But I think the teams themselves will want to construct their teams with multiple backs back there, and it's harder for them going forward to emerge to try to emulate one of those existing backs that we mentioned going forward.
That is fair. That's fair. Real quick, just wanted to send a shout out to CJ for jumping on tonight. He had to go. He's got, game stuff, game prep to get ready for next week. So definitely wanted to make sure that that he got his flowers for coming on. Appreciate that. And then we've got one more topic I want to get opinions on from two men before they have to jump out of here. Let's go to Michael first on this one. And that is a topic that came up from Justin. If you could look back at your beginning in fantasy football, I feel like this is a great topic for you in particular, Michael. What advice would you give a person who had never played the game before and decided that they wanted to jump into fantasy football? What advice would you give them as a first-time fantasy football player?
So I'm assuming that, I'm not assuming. I mean, usually most people start out playing redraft as far as fantasy football is concerned. It's the most popular. It's the most, it's the least maintenance involved because it's not year round. So if I had to give advice, don't chase players you love and completely disassociate yourself as a fan. A lot of people love to they have the fear of missing out. So they're like, I got to go get my guy. Like, I think we had somebody in a league, I play in a campus, the Canton League. Somebody drafted an Auburn Tiger. He was an Auburn fan, and he traded like the farm for this one player. So as far as like if you're an Eagles fan, don't trade the farm for Jalen Hurts to go get him if you feel like you're going to miss out on him. Disassociate yourself from it. Like, who's a better fantasy asset, Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts? Like, yeah, you're going to look at it from a fan standpoint, but you need to separate yourself from that. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions to people. Like, don't be afraid to ask whether it's people you're playing against or not. Ask multiple people the same question if you have to, but don't be afraid to do that, because from a fantasy perspective and a fantasy standpoint, there is no incorrect answer. Like, surprisingly, you'd be very surprised. There is no incorrect answer to anything. Unless somebody's giving you some stupid advice to draft like a 4th round running back in the 1st round. That's stupid. But for the most part, like if it feels like legitimate advice, listen to it, because there's other people that have known this game longer than you, and believe it or not, there's actually some people out there who may want to help you. So that would probably be my biggest advice to give people.
I definitely agree. And by the way, if you really want some fantasy football advice, all 3 of these guys at the top run fantasy football shows. So just kind of random how that worked out. But all of them are definitely good guys to get some advice from. So tune into Fantasy Reports Tuesdays and Sundays, and then also Dynasty Academy on Thursdays. And there's a ton of old episodes you can catch on the YouTube channel to go back and kind of get some advice as you head into the draft for this season. We just hit 110 viewers. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. One more question from the chat real quick that I'll get your opinion on, Michael. Williams wants to hear your national champ predictions in March Madness.
Being a North Carolina fan, I hate to say this, but I think Duke. Cooper Flagg's from Maine. And Cooper Flagg, I got a chance to see him his freshman year, the 1 year he played up here in Maine, and this dude is legit, and every single part of his game translates to the NFL, the NBA, and I think that he is a special talent that there's not a lot of teams left. However, Alabama is a 2 seed that they didn't want to see in that bracket. Alabama is a super dangerous team and could end Duke. In that run. And also Ole Miss is a very dangerous team too in the Auburn bracket. So I have Duke. I think Duke is going to win it, unfortunately, but if there was a sleeper, Auburn is also another team I'd keep an eye on as well.
Fair enough. Let's go over to TJ next. Speaking of which, Michael, thank you for your time tonight. Really appreciate it. Definitely, if you did not check it out earlier, make sure you go back and check out his Nordic Storm preview with Randy Schroeder. He's the director of player personnel, right?
He is co-owner and the head of the player personnel side of the team. Yep.
All right. Don't think I was aware he was co-owner. I might have missed that.
He is a co-owner. He played several years with the Copenhagen Towers of the Central European Football League and came together with several people and brought a team to the ELF, which for people out there that's viewing, because we have 108 people there, the ELF is the European League of Football. It is the biggest professional American football league in overseas really. So yeah,
definitely make sure you check that out. Check out Michael's show, which I'm sure will be coming up here fairly soon. Summer Showcase, which highlights the ELF as well as the LFA. So definitely be checking that out here shortly.
I got a lot. I got a lot coming up, Sam. I got the LFA with Daniel down there below me. We're going to do the spring showcase. We are going to bring it back once we get to the LFA, which is the Mexican League. I have Dynasty Academy, which will still be doing its draft season for us Dynasty players. So we're going to be doing that as well. And then during the summer, if you're coming back, Sam, I don't know yet. We haven't talked about it, but I think you are. But CFL Summer Showcase Northern Lights should be coming back this year as well, too. So I got a very busy docket. Follow Shady Sports Network and make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and get the notifications. Hit the little dingy. Get the notifications whenever we do it.
Do
it or said. We'll continue repeatedly saying do it. So
do it.
Exactly. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you taking the time tonight. I know it's late on your side of the world, so have a great rest of your night. And like I said, we'll go over to TJ next. TJ, you can hit us with either one, your national champion predictions or your fantasy football advice, whichever you want to start with.
Well, for March Madness, a little birdie has been chirping Florida in my ear. So, of course, I can't go with that. No, I'm just playing. No, yeah, I'm going with Florida. Yeah. No,
I wonder who that birdie was.
I wonder. That's weird.
And not only am I saying that, but I may or may not currently have a bet on DraftKings for Florida. So hopefully it works out. But my fantasy football advice would probably be I did it a lot early on. Don't forget or discount late picks. Because so many people want to get, the top like 4 or 5 rounds. They have like, a list and everything else. And then after all the quote unquote, big names are gone, it's kind of like, I'll just pick this person. I'll pick that, do some research. That's where you get depth. That's where you can get those surprise picks, those rookies or second year guys that end up having just a going off season, and they can really help you win. I did it a few years ago. One of the last years I played, I actually won the league championship. The guy who got me, the player who got me, I forget his name now, unfortunately, but he ended up giving me the winning points in the championship weekend. So, you just never know, and never discount late round picks. That'd be my best advice.
That's great advice. I have been that guy that had a top-heavy team. All of a sudden, you have an injury or two, and you're screwed. It's like you never even had a team. So definitely great advice on that one.
It probably took me like 3 years of that consecutively happening for me to finally learn.
I could see that. I've done it. I've been playing fantasy football for almost 20 years at this point. I've done it more than a couple times, and it just never seems to fail. I was always draft one position that I'm like, what was I doing? In hindsight, but I'm sure there's more people that can relate to that as well. That's why you got to watch these shows that we got going on, because they're the experts. They focus on this stuff basically year round. So, if you need a little bit of advice and you want to save yourself some hours of research, these are the guys to watch. Just saying. So speaking of those guys, TJ, thank you. Appreciate your time tonight. Would love to have you back on the next episode, of course, which, we should be doing in about 3 months. Catch us back in June, roughly. And then we'll kind of transition over to Sed here. Sed, I have a feeling I know who your March Madness pick is.
Alabama. No, I'm playing. The only team that's actually already in the Elite Eight. All these other teams could lose tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But, I know my bracket's at a smooth 96.3%. Granted, this year it is kind of easy, right? It's all the top teams, right? So just pick all the top teams. I picked Florida to win, so I don't care about the rest of them. But I got Florida playing Duke in the championship, so we'll see how that goes down. Cooper Flag he'll come back for another season. He ain't blow a shoe out yet, so I don't think he's ready for the NBA. We'll see. But yeah, I got the Gators going all the way. of course, Florida. Do that chump. All day.
Are you an alum? Do I have that correct?
No, I just grew up there.
Gotcha.
Born and raised. Might as well be. Should have been. Decided to go into the military, so I should have went to Florida.
My mistake.
Maybe I will now. Maybe I'll just go there now just so I can say I'm an alum and claim it because I'm through and through orange and blue, so it's good to go. Yeah. And then, so fantasy football, I guess my fantasy football advice would be to know why you're playing fantasy football. Like if you're just trying to play casual fantasy football, then you can play with friends. And it should be cool. But if you're trying to actually like gamble or bet or whatever it may be, then you may want to find like actual leagues where it's maybe more consistent throughout the entire season. I find that, maybe playing with friends, they can kind of, if people are just playing for the love or for the fun of it, they can kind of get bored with it really quick. So know what you're doing if you're spending money on it. And not know what you're doing, but know why you're playing, I guess, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like they said, take, like Michael said, don't be afraid to take advice. Like people are telling you stuff because, you generally it may be good advice. I mean, somebody may be trying to get over on you on the trade, but I feel like in most leagues and good leagues, like if it's a crazy trade, everybody else will be like, hold on. No, you sure you want to do that? So, it's it can be cutthroat, but I think it's fantasy football. So just remember, it's all love. It's not anything more than picking a bunch of players. And then like they said, don't go after your favorite team unless you have good players on your favorite team. So like if you're an Eagles fan, then of course you can go and draft Saquon Barkley if you can get him first, because that makes sense. But like in my sense, being a Broncos fan, it wouldn't make sense for me to go get Javonte Williams or, I guess going into next year, it wouldn't make sense to go get, Troy Franklin in the first round, right? So know where your team stacks up. You got to kind of be realistic, unless you just like, whatever, I'm just going to draft my team. So if you want to just draft your team, draft it and then live with it. But, I feel like people that kind of spend money on it kind of put some sort of time into it. So a lot of times, like they kind of take it kind of serious. So, like I guess it just goes back to, like I said, know why you're playing.
That is fair. Well said. I really appreciate your time tonight as well. Definitely know you need to get out of here and get ready for work as well for tomorrow. So really appreciate it. As always, make sure you check out Fantasy Reports every Tuesday and Sunday. Nonstop advice, and you guys are covering NBA now as well, right?
Yeah, we got Justin on that. He takes care of but we talk about the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. I think more so from I don't know, at least my point of view, more so from wanting to see our team in a championship than I guess covering it. I wouldn't really say I cover the Nuggets, but I do talk the Nuggets.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, we got our fantasy league we're trying to get going, so hopefully with that being coming up, that brings more talk and another element to our show, another angle, another sport to do fantasy in and cover that. Otherwise, we like our Timberwolves and Nuggets banter, of course.
Yeah, that is true. So look out for our leagues. I think we got like one more spot in the football league, and then we have a full opening right now in the basketball league. So let's get it up so we can get that going. Speaking of fantasy.
Definitely love it. Well said. Feel free to jump out whenever you feel the need. We're probably going to wrap up after this subject since we've already been going almost an hour and a half or a little over an hour and a half. Justin, we're going to go to you next. What is your best fantasy advice you would give a first-time fantasy football player?
I would say I'm like with you. I've been doing it for so long that I was just trying to look back, what did I need at the time? It just, outside of guidance and advice and help, it would just be have fun with it. There's money involved and whatnot, but have fun with it. Be in a league with people who are in it to have fun and make the rewards fun. make the punishments like, they get the point across, but overall be fun. And then be engaged in it. Like, it kind of disheartens the rest of the league if you go in and be like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then you kind of like tail off at some point in the year, become inactive and kind of just, treat it like there's a fine line between serious and being super into it and putting money everywhere and like doing all the analytics and looking at all the numbers and then not just being in it at all and being a kind of like hindrance to your league. I think for someone freshly getting into it though is be open to the input you're getting from league mates, from fantasy reports, from football, and actually like educate yourself and watch the games to a certain extent. Like, I mean, it can be stressful, and I do it too. I draft players on my team and then I watch my team, and it's like not only sometimes they lose, the players on those teams do bad, and it's like it feels like a double whammy, and it hurts even more for your for your health. It feels like at times, but just take it as something that's fun. It's not a job. It's not something like, well, if you make money off it, you make money off it, but like add it to your NFL experience rather than having it be something that makes it worse.
I love that. And then you don't have to give this topic, so feel free to pass on it if you don't want to, but who would you pick for March Madness?
Oh, I know it's not a popular pick, but I've been with this guy, I've been with this team since day one. I'm a Tom Izzo fan. I'm a Tom Izzo man. I'm going with my Spartans, hoping they win it. Not realistic. I'll be frank with that. I don't think they got the hang with those teams in the ACC and the SEC. They're still in it, but I think if things go right and they get past Ole Miss and they somehow take out either Auburn and Michigan, I think they could be a dark horse to maybe do it, but it's a tough road in the bracket they're in to do it. But just a hardcore Spartans fan, so I would love to see them do it. It's been a long time since the last one, and always that's my bracket every year. I have them in the championship and winning it, but that's part of having the fun with the bracket. The fun ones and the serious ones are elsewhere.
That's fair. That's fair for sure. Let's go to Daniel. Daniel, what are your thoughts on potential national champions in March Madness? And if you want to pass, feel free.
No, I mean, I'm good. I definitely, I guess the group that I've always kind of liked watching, I mean, I'm not a big college basketball fan, but I just like the way they run their offense, man, is Alabama. They feel real explosive. They feel real good. As a matter of fact, I don't even know, are they still in the tourney? I think they are, right? They're in the Elite Eight.
I think so.
Yeah, they're in exactly. They're the 2 seed. And I just enjoyed watching them actually get up to the court. It feels like they've always been right there. And now that they're really kind of blowing through, it feels good. Realistically, I had Duke winning it. But I just Bama, it's cool as a football fan, as a real big football fan. You kind of like a random football school to start pushing up, just like in college football. You like seeing a basketball school kind of take the reins, so I like that a lot. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Bama. I'm gonna, fingers crossed that they get a natty.
Love it. All right. And then also, what's the best fantasy football advice you would give for a first-time player?
Man, stick it through. Whatever it is, if you're 0-8 and whatever it is, however it is, stick it through. Enjoy it, rally around your team, have fun with it. Who knows? You might if you're brand new to fantasy football, it means you might be brand new to football in general. So, fall in love with one of the players, fall in love with one of the teams. Maybe you find yourself a new favorite team and you start rooting for them, and whatever it is, stick it through. I love the points that they were making. A lot of times, if you play for fun, chances are it's gonna fall away, right? I mean, you see it happen a lot. Like you forget, and you're going against someone that auto drafted and all that stuff. One, get into a league that they're gonna take it serious, and number two, stick it out, have fun, enjoy it. Embrace the underdog role because everyone's gonna dog on you, but have fun with it. find yourself and do some research. Do as much research. Watch podcasts. Tune into some ESPN shows, articles, little things like that, and I think you'll find a new love for the game of football other than just seeing who wins and who scores touchdowns.
Absolutely. Daniel, before we kind of transition off of you talking, tell us a little about your side project you got going on, the UA8FA.
Correct. Yeah. So the U8FA is basically an organization that is starting to build and starting to grow with amateur 8-man teams from across the nation. A lot of times, indoor football, right? We've all grown to love it. We've all grown to kind of see it through. It's extremely difficult for high-level talent to view and to get themselves to the highest level, right? The highest level is obviously the NFL, but I've been fortunate enough, some of my teammates have been fortunate enough throughout my indoor years that they've played semi-pro ball, right? Semi-pro ball. And the transition from 8-man amateur football to arena one is, of course, the talent level. There's going to be little sparkles here and there of talent that can play at the next level. And I think we're trying to get the best teams to play against the best teams. We're fortunate enough to be a part of one of those teams, the Far Phantoms. That's the shirt that I usually try to wear on stream. For anybody watching, go follow the Far Phantoms on Facebook. Tune in. We're going to be our job is to try to expand this world of competitive amateur football in the professional light. There's a lot of darkness that gets over it and kind of gets clouded, but I think the biggest thing is when you get the best teams to play the best teams, I think it's going to be great. And it's going to be us. We're representing the state of Texas. There's a team coming from the state of California called the Desert Sentinels. They're traveling and flying into Houston. We're in South Texas. And I mean like South Texas, guys. So we're 15 to 20 minutes away from the border. All of our players are regionally from usually the Valley, which is what we call the Rio Grande Valley. But we're going to be traveling up to Houston, and we're going to play against that team for the national championship. And it's going to be streamed and broadcast here on Shady Sports Network. So thank you, Sam, for that. We really much appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we hope to get off the ground, and we want to have more games, in neutral sites, and hopefully, try to get some of these championship games in arenas on the turf, so that some of these teams at the higher levels can kind of see some of the talent that deserves to be, pretty much put out there for broader and bigger audiences.
Definitely. And you say thank you, but if anything, I should be thanking you. Honestly, it's not super easy for a network like ours to get live sports, and I'm super excited about this game. I know how you work. I know how the team works. I think that this is going to be a great partnership going forward, and I'm excited to see how we can grow this association. So like I put in the comments below, make sure you go follow United Amateur 8-Man Football Association on Facebook. Are you on any other platforms yet?
As far as us, or as far as the organization, not just yet. Yeah, we're kind of building into the Twitter, Instagram. We're starting to pretty much get going with all that. Being away from home and working is kind of kicking my butt, man. I'm not gonna lie, it's kicking my butt. But
that is fair. You're doing what, 7/12s, you said?
Correct. Yes,
that is insane. The fact that you're even on with us right now is awesome.
Man, I miss it, man. I miss streaming. I miss, whether it's streaming video games, whether it's getting on podcasts, talking with the boys is something I miss, man. So I had to jump on.
I really appreciated it. Definitely appreciate you taking the time. And then Justin, I don't want to throw it out there. There might be some coverage coming from you in the arena world as well, maybe.
Trying, hopefully. I'll wait for, hear the way back, but I'm kind of my ears to the ground, and I've been doing my part to stick keep my nose in a certain team in a certain league's business, and try to just be all ready for that opportunity if it presents itself to move forward. So yeah, that'd be I don't know if you can spill it or whatnot here, but like,
Oh
yeah,
we could totally say the team name. I just didn't want to say it if you didn't.
Oh,
want
I didn't know. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, no, you're good. Go for it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm looking because they're in my area. They're about an hour out. I'm gonna try to be getting involved with the Eau Claire Axemen. I think this is their inaugural season, and I've been watching their roster builds and whatnot, and then being in communication with you, with Coach Brooks. I think it's going to be an awesome opportunity if that gets off the ground rolling, and I look to do my part the best I can to represent not only the network but to get more of a broadcast out of the team and the league in general.
Agreed.
Because before I got into shit, I knew nothing of arena football or whatever, and it's been a fun journey up to this point, just getting into it and diving into it and seeing a different perspective of being that passionate NFL fan and college football fan, and then going just another layer. I don't consider it a tier, just another layer of the game of football, another layer of what like players can bring to the sport and their own little unique set of talents and abilities and environment that it's in. It's fascinating, and I'm really getting into it, and I like it, and I look forward to hopefully being able to cover some stuff of the Axemen and the T. Oh God, I don't know. I'm getting better with all the names and all the leagues.
Yeah, there's a lot of them at this point. I'm not gonna lie, but it's in the arena league. So TAL.
Yes, okay, yeah, the TAL.
Definitely, but Coach Brooks is a really close friend. Hopefully he doesn't mind me saying that out loud.
Yeah,
I've known the guy since I basically started my coverage of indoor football. He was with the Green Bay Blizzard at the time as their defensive backs and special teams coach, and then he moved on a couple different places. I've always kind of followed him. I got to meet him firsthand or in person last season when he was with the Spartans, which was really cool. In fact, I'm not going to pull it up right now, but I have a playing card of Coach Brooks from when he was with the Spartans. That was really cool.
Awesome.
So he actually signed that for me, so I have it in the background somewhere behind me. But super excited about him being a head coach for the first time in his own backyard too. So, he's originally from, I believe, Wisconsin, so it's kind of cool for him to get that opportunity, with a local team. So excited for that for him. But as far as the fantasy football advice I would give, most of these guys covered the main points. Have fun, enjoy it, make sure it's something you really want to do, and it's not something you just want to dip a toe in or something like that. If you want to dip a toe in, don't join necessarily a league. Go try some DFS. Try some of that stuff where it's not going to affect a bunch of guys around you that are dedicated and really kind of invested in their fantasy football teams. And then kind of try that out, see what you think. If you like that, then go join a league and, find one that is a bunch of friends. That's the best way to do it, in my personal opinion. Talk some smack, have some fun, bet something goofy on it that you're not going to necessarily hurt your pocket or whatever. If it's $50 that you're probably going to live if you lose, that's what we do in our league. And it works out well. The winner takes home $550. Second place takes home their money. So that's just the way we run it. But it's a lot of fun. And in my personal opinion, it was one of the first things that got me more invested in football outside of the Eagles. So, you draft your fantasy team, so you're kind of following along with those games, seeing what they do and stuff like that. So I think it's a good way, if you're a football fan, to provide meaning to the other games that you may not necessarily be watching otherwise. So that was kind of how my love really kind of blossomed into what it is today. And now I run a media network, so you never know where fantasy football can take you, apparently. But on that note, we really appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. We had, I think, a peaked out of 120 live viewers tonight. Definitely appreciate everybody who tuned in. Like I mentioned before, make sure you're checking out all the shows that we got on a weekly basis. You can definitely check out our schedule on Google Docs. I'll make sure I share that out in the chat here in a second. We've got a lot of stuff coming out every single week. Great hosts that are very dedicated and hardworking people, and we're very lucky to have every single one of them. And we've got some new stuff coming down the pike here shortly, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on that as well, because it's only going to get more extensive in terms of our coverage here over the next couple months. We're really kind of ramping up. Our busy season is always in the March area due to all the indoor football leagues that are coming up and starting, and then as well as the overseas stuff, ELF, LFA, UFL, all these different leagues that are kicking off over the next couple weeks here. So definitely excited about all that coming up, and really love that you guys tuned in tonight. So stick with us moving forward. Just drop that link in the chat for everybody for the schedule. And then hopefully you guys stick with us. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow us on wherever you're watching. You will constantly catch content on all these different platforms. And if you prefer YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or Twitter, just follow us wherever is convenient for you. We like to multi-stream for that purpose, so it's nice and easy for you guys to catch the streams. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Justin. Any final thoughts before we get out of here for the night?
Yeah, if you liked what you saw tonight, help us out too by checking out the merch store on the website and grabbing some gear and rocking it around in your communities and help get that word out.
Great point. We like to think we keep it as affordable as possible. It can ship straight to your door. So really shout out to Branding Blanks, who will forever be our merchandise partner when it comes to stuff like that. I've known the guy personally since high school, so really looking forward to expanding that collection over the next couple of years, but definitely would appreciate some sales in that department. So if you want anything, DM the page, give us your sizes, your address. We'll get it to you as soon as possible, and then we'll go from there. But Daniel, any final thoughts for you, buddy?
No, I mean, you guys just tune into the page. I mean, tune into pretty much all the shows. It's so cool how wide of a spectrum the coverage is on this channel, and happy to be a part of it, happy to be with the team. Hopefully as it gets going, my schedule clears up a little more, because it's so fun hearing everyone's opinions and everything like that. I hope these roundtables don't take months in between, just because I love hearing everyone's opinions and things like that. But just, you'll never know what sport or what league or what team you're going to fall in love with. So tune into these shows, man. They're super fun.
Definitely agree on that. Also, this is a long shot, but if you have a small business and you're looking to get your name out there, maybe specifically in the Texas area, that national championship game we mentioned before, I was looking for sponsors to kind of help them get through all the costs for everything. I believe, don't quote me on this, Daniel can say more accurately, you're looking for maybe a title sponsor for the trophies?
Yeah, any sponsors is, guys, I mean, it's going to help out, right? If you want to be the title sponsor for the trophy, if you want to be the MVP trophy sponsor, anything, again, the games get streamed on here. We're so fortunate to have Sam and his network backing us up. So your name will get out there. Your commercial will get out there if you have one. If you need us to make one, I'll make time out of my day, things like that. But any help is much, much appreciated. So, yeah, I appreciate that, Sam.
Absolutely. Got to use the platform to help that as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So definitely, like he said, we can play commercials, we can put up graphics. Honestly, I'll go on a limb here and say that if you're going to sponsor the game for them, we'll run a commercial in other shows. We'll throw your graphic up on the website. We'll put out a post on social media as far as his page, and then on the network page as well, just to kind of give you guys your shine, because you're really doing a good thing for the community and for amateur football players out there that are really trying to do, just stay attached to the game they love, and then hopefully make it to the next level as well. So really appreciate anybody who might consider doing that. You can DM me at Shady Sports Network. You can DM Daniel at his Facebook page as well if you want more information, as well as the Far Phantoms and the UA8FA page as well. On that note, though, we'll catch you guys in the next episode, which I believe we've got something coming up Saturday morning around the indoor football world. On that note, have a great night. We'll catch you in the next one.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.